Welcome back to Foresight Radio, where we dive deep into the technologies shaping our world and explore how they're redefining the way we work, live, and lead. I'm Tom Kalopoulos, and today we're going to talk about a fascinating application of AI, creating your digital self. If you followed any of my writing or speaking, you're probably familiar with the idea of a digital self. It's something that my co-author Nathaniel Palmer and I covered in a lot of detail in our book, Gigatrends. The idea here is pretty simple in practice, but profound in its applications. A digital self is a version of you that, in its most basic form, has access to your knowledge base. So things like your writings, diaries, videos, audio recordings of you. And once it's trained on all this material, it can have a conversation that mimics the way you would respond if you were speaking with someone in real life. For example, imagine that your great-grandkids and generations beyond will be chatting with you long after you're gone. It sounds like science fiction, right? But stick with me because I'm going to show you how I actually created my own digital self using OpenAI's APIs and a little bit of code. But before we go there, this notion of a digital self, it can go well beyond what I've just described. It can identify patterns in your behaviors, access and manage sensitive information, such as your finances, medical records, legal documents, anything at all that defines you and who you are and how you live your life. So why would you want a digital self? Well, take a listen to my podcast on the value of digital advocacy for an example of how your digital self will one day dramatically alter the quality of your health care. This could also be a personal assistant. A lot of the discussion that we hear lately about agentic AI and AI agents will leverage this notion of a digital self to allow you to have a full-time 24/7 personal assistant. The key here, of course, is having a trusted host for all of this sensitive information. However, it's not as though all this data isn't already being stored in various digital forms. It's just not all connected yet. Your healthcare data is scattered among providers, insurers, pharmacies, and all the various medical services that you use online and the devices that you have, such as wearables that you're connected to. And the same applies pretty much to everything that a digital self would have access to. Your finances are all online. Your real estate is online. We may be about 5 to 10 years away from the realization of that sort of a comprehensive digital self that is fully secured, perhaps on the blockchain. But there's already a way to start building a basic version for yourself today. So for fun, and maybe for posterity, I decided to take on the task of building my own digital version of myself. My digital self included all of the books that I've written, hundreds of Inc.com articles, podcasts like this one from Foresight Radio, keynotes, and various white papers, all put into a customized version, if you will, of ChatGPT 4.0. Now, I used OpenAI's APIs to do this, and I created a type of AI called a RAG, a Retrieval Augmented Generation, which is basically trained on my content, my knowledge base, while also having the benefit of an LLM's greater knowledge base. Now, to be clear, this isn't exactly turnkey. You do need to pay to use OpenAI as the LLM. You need to have access to its APIs, create an API key, a plugin that will create the dialogue or the chat bot that will access your knowledge base and have a conversation. You need a bit of basic coding skill, a vector database that's local because you don't want all the information in your knowledge base to be publicly available or fed into a public AI. And of course, you need a fair amount of data on which to train your digital self. In addition, I wanted to avoid responses that would step outside of my voice, my writing, and my research, and potentially creating hallucinations or answers that I wouldn't have come up with on my own. They're not based on my knowledge and my experience. So I had to specifically limit the AI to responses that are based on my information. And I also wanted to make sure that all the information in my knowledge base was stored, again, locally in a vector database rather than uploading everything to a public AI. So with all of that as background, if you want to see the results of my digital self, you can try it out at tkspeaks.com. Just look for the chat bubble in the lower right corner of the website and start asking your questions. It's pretty impressive how closely it replicates my voice and blends incredibly well ideas from thousands of pages that I've written and hundreds of hours of speaking and podcasts. What's really cool is that you can ask my digital self pretty much anything, and not just about tech or business or the future. You can ask it about my thoughts on trust, on love, on raising kids, or even my feelings about gratitude. And it's really cool how it will stitch together things that I have written or talked about and create pretty cogent and convincing answers that, frankly, are pretty darn close to the way I would answer those same questions. Is this truly my immortal self? Will my kids and my grandkids one day consult it for advice and bad puns and bad dad jokes? Not quite yet, but it is certainly a glimpse of the future. Life may be short, but digital immortality is just getting started. Let's see where it takes us. And for more, take a listen to my podcast on digital advocacy. Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying Foresight Radio, be sure to subscribe and share it with friends and colleagues. The best way to navigate the future: keep asking questions, embrace change, and seek out new perspectives. Until next time, I'm Tom Kalopoulos. As always, stay curious.